Well, today is POTUS's birthday. Happy birthday, POTUS. Thank you so much for everything you've done for us, President Trump. We really appreciate you, and we're so glad you're our president. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about some of the things going on with the protests. And I have an update a little bit on that one circuit court judge that is on the Flynn case. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Molly and her deleted tweet. So lots of stuff on the schedule. Stay with me, folks, and I'll be with you in a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and although I'm recording this on the evening of the 13th, you should see it on the morning of the 14th, I hope, if everything goes right. And I just wanted to wish our president a happy birthday. And if you're a boater, this is something you might want to participate in. Now, I'm going to have to shut down the sound on this because music is really picky and they can give you copyright strikes on it really easy. But with the video, I think I'm okay on that. So here we go. And here we have, I love the design on this. That's really cool. But yeah, here we are. It's dramatic music is what it is going on in the background. And you have all these boaters that are coming from all over the country that are going to be celebrating President Trump's birthday. I think this is so wonderful. And it's already started in Michigan. I think they had 2,000 boats already that were out there. So if you've got a boat and you're at the end of this, it'll show you some of the places they're going to be. So if you've got a boat, get out there, celebrate our president and, encourage him. I think this is one of the best ways to show him our support. So this is really great. And this is from the Yachting Lifestyle. And so how crazy we are. But, we're out there celebrating our country and be there. I just think this is great right here, what they're doing. So here's all the places that they're going to be. If you're anywhere near those, check it out. And there's lots of other places. Like I said, Lake Michigan, they're having some too. So I'm sure the other Great Lakes are probably having something as well. So if you're interested, go to boatersforabrighterfuture.org and check it out. I just think that's really great. It's a wonderful way to show President Trump that we appreciate him. Anyway, that's the first thing I have for you. And then I wanted to show you this because the Anons believe that there is a plan that the left are going to swarm in and they're really going to attack President Trump's Twitter account just because of this. So what we need is, if you have a Twitter account, make sure you get in there and you get a lot of good tweets in on his posts whenever he posts so that we can flood them out. We just want to make sure that when people go there, they're seeing positive things instead of all the negative. We may not be able to fight the algorithm, but we can at least do our part to show him our support. So that's something, if you are, on Twitter, and I know a lot of you aren't, but that's okay. If you are, that would be something to really go after. Memes at the ready. So I want to play just a little bit of a clip on this for you. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I will leave the link down below, as I always do, so you can go watch this full clip because it's well worth it.
Why is it that this guy is different? It's because unlike any other president, he could have been in the ruling class. He said no thanks. He had enough money to be in the ruling class. He's got more money than James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Smirk, his lover Lisa Page, and the person who probably published his book combined and multiplied times 100. He's the only president in modern history to have his own plane and actually go to probably a smaller plane when he becomes president of the United States. He's one of the only presidents that was a best-selling author, #1 TV show on The Apprentice, NBC, literally was in every single rap song, was glamorized. President Barack Obama said the American dream is to be what? Is to be Donald Trump. That's what he said the American dream was. Why is it that this guy's all of a sudden the populist hero? He's supposed to be part of the ruling class. It's because he's a defector from it. It's because he was in the dinners, he was in the cocktail parties, he heard the language, he heard the contempt that the ruling class, the Wall Street financiers, the Washington, D.C. lobbyists, and the Silicon Valley elites that he had to be around. He knew the contempt that they had for the plumber, electrician, the carpenter, the bricklayer, and the person building the very same building that he was financing. So he took the woman rink mentality, the philosophy that built that woman rink quicker and better than anyone could have imagined, despite the New York City bureaucracy and the municipal burdensome rules. And he said, I'm going to bring this to Washington, D.C., and I'm actually going to do something that a politician has never done before. I'm going to tell you the truth, no matter how brutal and honest it is. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. From the time he went down the escalator, he was the only person running for office that talked about China immigration, the two issues that are most affecting our country now. How was this possible? Because he listened to the very people the ruling class hated.
Okay. Yeah, and really he goes on with it. It is excellent. So I highly recommend that you watch all this entire thing. Really well done, and share it. You know, if you're on social media at all, please share it with other people. They need to hear what he has to say here. And then I wanted to show you this meme because I think this is really good. There are 3 types of people. Yep, those who make things happen, those who take from those who make things happen, and those who don't know what's happening. So I don't know why memes always have to have some kind of typo on them. So they need to change that. But still, it's a good meme. Yeah, I liked it. All right, let's get into some of the stuff happening with the protests. And, you know, I know that I'm going to have to demonetize this video. They leave the choice up to us, although they would demonetize it anyway, because whenever I talk about anything going on with the protests or Black Lives Matters, it's considered too sensitive of a subject. Well, I think they consider it controversial. And as long as it's a controversial subject, then it's going to get demonetized. So this is too controversial. What I'm going to be telling you is considered that. So, yeah, what are you going to do? So I'm just going to tell you everything here. So this is a good little video here. This is a group of Antifa holds down a street preacher as he screams, "You're choking me," in Seattle Autonomous Zone.
You're here for this. No, I don't. Stop choking yourself. You're choking me. No. If he says that, get off.
I don't know. It seemed kind of odd to me. I got to tell you on that one. I understand. I'm not a real big fan of Jack Posobiec, but it just seemed really odd to me because they just all of a sudden kind of got up, and the guy did not seem like he was actually in a position where maybe they were choking him. I don't know. I'm just a little skeptical on this one because I got to tell you, folks, not everything coming out that's claiming to be in these different locations is real, and you should already know that because you know that fake news abounds, and so you have to kind of look at things. And I'm not saying Jack set this up or anything. I just think it was kind of weird, and it cut at an odd place, and I don't know. I'd have to see a full clip of what happened before and after this to really make a decision. But I do know that this was put up and protesters needed, and where Antifa were willing to pay up to 1,000 people $25 per hour for protesters in Lincoln, Nebraska and Omaha, Nebraska. So I don't know if you guys had anything going on. It said that it was supposed to go all the way through June 13th. You'll be paid nightly and can come and go as you please. We want chaos to help further our agenda. So supposedly that's from Craigslist. And it was in response to this up here where this person said, well, it was farther up than I thought, that there might be a false flag on the 13th. And so they were telling people to kind of be careful because there were an awful lot of famous people that had 13s in their post recently. Like, I think they were almost all on the 9th. So 13 minutes, 13%. It's just kind of weird that they all had 13s. And we know when they tend to do that, that it's not just because it's a coincidence. We know about coincidences. So just thought I would point that out. And like I said, this one down here, you got to go down a little ways. But, yeah, there was another one. This one right here was just kind of odd. And again, I can't say that's legitimate. I'm just showing you what they are putting up and saying that this is something happening. So just giving you information. I'm going to let you, there it is, that full one. This one, though, is real. Okay, I'm pretty sure. 2 people peacefully carried American flags through the Seattle Autonomous Zone. It was seen as an intense act of provocation to many there, some of whom were openly armed. A masked person ran up and stole one of the flags. And that's what you see in this clip.
There we go. There we go. There we go. That's it. Okay. But that's a key. And that's the item. Okay.
Well, at least they didn't get beat up. Because this is Andy here. He got beat up before, and pretty severely. I think he had to be hospitalized. He's been the victim a few times, but he tries to get out there and get some actual clips. That one, I don't think that was staged. Then we have this. The Des Moines Black Lives Matter says, we just finished our meeting with the governor of Iowa after urging her to sign an executive order to restore voting rights to all Iowans. She committed to having the order drafted for us to review when we meet with her again on Monday morning. What in the world? Why does Black Lives Matter have to do with getting the governor to do something? They're bullying this governor into signing an executive order. And, they're manipulating her. What is the deal here? This group has so much power that it can now get governors to enact executive orders? I mean, this is appalling to me. I can't fathom that this is going on. Folks in Iowa, hello, that's your governor? You need to let your governor know you're not happy with this, okay? Oh, well, I can't imagine. It's like saying, putting a tweet out there, the mafia has just finished meeting with the governor and is going to review the order before the governor signs it. Yeah, so, that's just not right. It is not. And this I thought was very interesting because this is somebody from the UK, okay? And she says they want a race war so badly, don't fall for it. This conflict has literally been imported from America, led by an obscure organization that funds Democrats and wants to dismantle the very fabric of Western society. Whether black or white, people need to stop falling for it. And I really agree. I don't even know this woman, but evidently she has seen through it. She understands what's going on. Well, get this. 3 were indicted for allegedly throwing Molotov cocktails at NYPD vehicles, and they face life in prison. And then look down here. An upstate woman and 2 Brooklyn lawyers were indicted Friday. Now, when your lawyers, who are supposed to respect the law, turn around and start committing crimes, you've got a real problem. You really do. So, I don't know what's going to happen to them. I sure hope that they are held accountable, though, if they really did throw those at the cop cars. Oh, just infuriates you to just think that's going on. Anyway, I need to do a little quick update on Judge Robert L. Wilkins from the Flynn thing. Oh, yeah, he's black. Okay, I'm sorry. I really was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But yes, he is, and he is not only an Obama appointee, but I found this article, Leftist Judges Turned Administrative Law into a Sham, and this is from 2017. Harry Reid's decision to end the judicial filibuster of nominees for U.S. Courts of Appeals may have paved the way for Republicans to confirm Justice Gorsuch by ending the same practice at the Supreme Court level. But that doesn't mean Reid's decision isn't paying off for the left. In fact, it's paying off with some regularity at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, the second most important court in the country. Reid used the nuclear option to put 3 left-wing judges on that court, which often passes on the legality of actions taken by the administrative state. Now, I don't know who all he put on there, but I'm pretty sure that Wilkins was one, and then the other, if you go here, evidently there was a case that was about locating some kind of fracking pipeline thing, and he wrote the opinion on it, the majority opinion, out of the 3 judges. He was the one to write the opinion. Well, this is the left turning on him and saying, oh, look, he's corrupt. He made between $5K and $15K from an investment fund with $1.7 billion in energy holdings. And so he shouldn't have been making this decision on this. And here's the actual ruling. And it's really interesting because the other 2 judges, one of them was Kavanaugh. And then this Millett is also an Obama appointee. And since these 2 were Obama appointees, these 2 were blamed for the decision pretty much, especially him since he's the one that wrote this. And it's just kind of interesting. They were not happy because it had to do with some gas company in Pennsylvania and the town there, and they were going to locate something where the townspeople didn't want it, but yet, it was just, you can read through it if you want. It's 33 pages long. So they didn't go the way that the left wanted it to go, and so they were mad at this guy because he's the one that wrote the opinion. So I just think that was kind of funny. The left eating their own, and that's what this article is all about. So, that's it. And like I said, this Millett was also an Obama appointee. But I'm really surprised because evidently Wilkins agreed with Kavanaugh on this, that, there wasn't anything they could... Really, what they were doing is saying they couldn't rule on it because they were going to let the lower court's decision stand because there wasn't anything new that should contradict that. So that's as I understood it. Well, this is something new that Trump has done. He finalizes rule defining gender as, guess what? A person's biological sex. Oh, what a concept. So in other words, if your chromosomes determine your sex, then whatever that is your sex. And that's going to cause some problems. Of course, there's weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth among the LGBTQ, ABCD, whatever group. And they say that it's going to cause a lot of problems. And here's what I thought was kind of funny about it. Unfortunately, the new rule is likely to confuse healthcare practitioners. How is it going to confuse them? If the person is biologically male, then they are male. If the person is biologically female, then they are female. That's what it is. But it's also going to prevent having young kids being changed, having their sex changed. That's just, it really is a good thing, in my opinion, because there are only 2 biological genders. That's it. Male and female. God created them male and female. He didn't create 59, 60, 70, 80, 100 other genders, okay? And no matter what you say, doesn't change what God did. So, anyway, I just wanted to point that out to you, and just on my personal opinion on this is, when you get into genders, it really strikes at the very heart of creation and what God's role was in creating man and woman. And I think that's one of the reasons why that is a sticking point for the left, who tends to hate everything God, which we're going to see in just a minute. Speaking of hating everything God, guess what? Q posted this link to Molly Jong-Fast's post, her tweet. Well, she deleted it right away. I mean, before anybody could hardly get there, very few people got to chime in on it. And she said she was being harassed by QAnon drop. Happy Saturday. But Zach Voorhees here. Now remember, he's like the whistleblower on Google that had all that huge amount, 9,000 pages worth of documents come out. that he exposed from Google. That's the guy right there. So he's really a techie, and so he found it. He said, well, that was fast. Q points to a tweet by the Daily Beast writer Molly Jung-Fast. The tweet is removed from Twitter within minutes, and the archive.org copy is also wiped out, but not archive.is. And then he gives the link. And here is the post that she had. That's what she actually tweeted. She took the article from General Flynn's op-ed that I mentioned in my last video. I read through it with you. And she said, perhaps this person is completely insane. Okay, but she's not the only one saying he's insane, by the way. There are others, and like this one right here says the same thing. And here's why I think, okay? This is my speculation on it. I think what they're doing is they're setting it up for people to believe that Mike Flynn is crazy. If they believe that he's gone off the deep end, then when he starts talking after the gag order is over, when he starts talking and he's talking about what was on Wiener's laptop, people are not going to believe him because they'll think he's crazy. See, I think that's their thought. I don't think it's going to work, but I think that's their thought process. Okay? So just wondering if that's really what's going on, since, when it was just her saying it, we're going to find out. She's a little nutter, and she's definitely a Trump hater. So it's not surprising to me that she would say that about Flynn. And I'm pretty sure she doesn't really care much for God either. So, but here's the actual link to that if you want it. That's from the archive.is. I didn't know there was an archive.is. So I checked on the .org and I couldn't find it. It did say it had been removed. So I'm glad that there's somebody smarter than me that knows how to get to those things. Anyway, then she's got this buddy named Rick Wilson, and he even calls himself a dissident, and he's a New York Times #1 best-selling author. Ooh. And ironically, Running Against the Devil is his book. That's interesting. And he says, shout out to Molly Jong-Fast, who got mentioned in a QAnon drop today. It's not her tweeting. It's a mind-controlled clone who took her place to help overthrow the deep state. The really MJF is here with me in Gitmo. They're trying to make fun of it, but they know the stuff that's coming out is true. And usually when we jump on something, it makes a huge difference. This, to me, the combination of her deleting it so fast and definitely attacking Flynn, and then this with him saying it, I really think that we're getting very close, because they're starting to come against us, and we're making a difference. When we go and we comment on these things, I think we make a huge difference. Well, yeah, Rick Wilson had a little more to say about us. Every follower of QAnon needs a mental health screening, particularly if they have children. Then they need to be vaccinated for something, anything, just to irritate them. Isn't it nice? Well, and part of the reason they said that is because, they've got crazy people who are claiming to be associated with Q, and then they do stupid stuff. We don't do that. We don't stand for that. That's not somebody who's associated with Q. Q people don't do this kind of garbage. Okay? Definitely not. And so that's why they were saying it. But see, they're trying to generalize. They put words in our mouth. They make us, they say we believe this or that or whatever. The attacks are coming faster and faster and harder. That means that we're over the target. That's what happens. And speaking of that, well, this is one of Molly's friends here, and he says, Trump campaign manager says 300K bought rally tickets for a 19K seat arena. Hey, guess what? This is a big fat lie. Because, first of all, Trump tickets don't cost. You don't have to pay 1 penny to go to a campaign rally. Never. Ever, ever, ever has anybody had to pay anything to get in. That's not it. And they don't buy them. They just register for them. And in fact, the Trump campaign manager said that. If you actually go and read the real thing, He said they registered for it. Now, the reason they do that, in case you're not familiar with it, is because when you're trying to put together an event of this size, you know, obviously they know there's going to be some people that are going to be interested. They need to know how much interest so they can try to get the appropriate size venue. I know that when back in May of 2018, President Trump and Vice President Pence were both going to be in South Bend, Indiana. Well, they had it all set up there at a certain location at the airport, but then they put it out and people were signing up, registering for tickets like crazy. And so they had to find a bigger venue. It just simply wasn't large enough. And so that's kind of what they do. And sometimes they're limited as to the size of place that they can get. And so there are a lot of factors that fall into that because, you know, places are booked for different things, although probably a little easier getting someplace right now with all the COVID stuff. But anyway, so 19,000 seat arena, 300,000 registered for tickets. Remember, they didn't buy them. They registered for them. That's not unusual. It's really not. I know that the South Bend one that then got moved to Elkhart ended up being probably twice as many people outside as were inside. I mean, it was huge. I've never seen so many people in my entire life, and it was a fairly small one because that was kind of right before they started really getting going. So, yeah. And then Molly just doesn't like Trump because what does she do? She takes this incident and says, ramps are hard, the Donald J. Trump story. Well, okay, now I haven't watched the video of him, but here he is, and he's going down this ramp. Well, that's a pretty steep ramp. And so he's watching it because I'll tell you what, if he ever stumbled and fell, can you imagine what they would do? Oh, so, you know, it's embarrassing when you're somebody like that. So he kind of jogged down the last couple. It's just, that was a very steep slope. I could see from the angle that he's walking that it is steep. I mean, look at that. So, yeah, you walk down a steep slope and see if it's not something where you want to kind of be careful, especially if you've got thousands of millions of people watching you. So anyway, but I haven't heard his speech yet. I heard it was really good. I just have been, you know, picking up all these things all day. So I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm excited. I hope I can get to see it. But anyway, she had to make fun of him. Well, he did come back and say this. He says, the ramp that I descended after my West Point commencement speech was very long and steep and had no handrail and, most importantly, was very slippery. The last thing I was going to do is fall for the fake news to have fun with. Final 10 feet I ran down to the level ground. Momentum. So he did respond, but they are so petty, so petty. And this is also by Molly. Molly's... Talk about sanity. I don't think Molly's playing with a full deck because, yeah, she thinks Bill Barr is going to go to jail after all of this because he was he's working with Trump and he's letting things go that should not go, and especially when he got in with the Lafayette Square, you know, that his crackdown at Lafayette Square, that was just wrong and violated people's First Amendment rights. And so, yeah, that's what she's got on this. And so Molly and Rick, yeah, look at that. Both of the guys we just talked about. So Molly and Rick present her forecast for this November, and she has some promising news for Democrats. Oh, there you go. I'm sure you're all really interested to find out what that promising news is. It sure isn't Joe Biden. But let's go on with Molly, okay? So the Anons have been digging on Molly, right? And so this one comes up with this. Molly Jong-Fast's son is down with communism. She seems rather proud of that too. And his handle is woke teenage son. So, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of great. And so she comes back and says, just like his great-grandpa. Oh, well, we start getting into that. I tell ya, this thread right here, wait until you read about the rest of the Jung-Fast family. You'll never guess who her cousin is. And then they get into this. Little Miss Bulwark here cropped the photo of Trump's at a memorial for tornado victims. those are some stellar principles you guys have. So this is what she posted. She cropped it like this. Of course, they look very sad. They don't look happy at all. And she said, I call this one marital bliss. Here was the full photo. What did she expect them to be doing? Smiling while they're standing there facing the crosses of representing victims of this tornado? I mean, this is just how they work. It's crazy. When you go through this whole thing here, it just gets worse. Her mother was, let's just say, very sexually liberal, and her mom is kind of a big deal in certain circles. She also talks about Molly like she was a messed up kid who was apparently a drug addict for a while. And her father was a social worker, science fiction author, and an expert on school shootings. Isn't that interesting? And it gets better. Grandfather Howard Fast, U.S. government propaganda journalist who turned full communist USA and became a scriptwriter. Family connections at work with the Crystals. So Howard is most well known for a novel he wrote called Spartacus. You really can't make this stuff up. He was a congressional candidate for the American Labor Party and worked for a communist newspaper. But these connections are nothing compared to her cousin, Peter Dow. Yeah, Peter Dow. And this was about her mother. Among her nephews is Peter Dow, who is a Democratic Party strategist. And so here you can see he's kind of crazy. I've seen him before many times. And they're just not playing with full decks. Another one at the helm of the Silicon Valley Share Blue digital coup. And so, of course, the blue, Share Blue, that is one of the Soros's babies that's under Media Matters, And, that's really cool of Crystal to give her a platform at the Bulwark. Share Blue, FYI. And so, this is just a really good thread because communists everywhere. This is the thing. They are out there, and unfortunately, here he was yelling at Trump. Trump is signing Bibles. The man whose vicious and inhumane border policy violates the fundamental teachings of Jesus is signing Bibles. You don't know what Jesus taught. You obviously don't, because nothing about that border policy violates what Jesus taught. And if you think so, then you need to read the full Bible. Anyway, so just kind of some information. So I'll leave the link to that thread down below so you can read it. And then we'll go on to some other stuff. This one I thought was interesting because it says, did you know that in 2019, all black women hold the titles for Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, Miss America, Miss Universe, Miss World? How many people are aware of this? Why not? So the narrative is starting to crumble here, folks. It really is. So then I need to show you this because Jeff Sessions is under fire big time again by the liberals. And he said Doug Jones, who is the guy whose seat he's hoping to replace, vote to remove from all military facilities and installations the names of every soldier who fought for the Confederacy, betrays the character and decency of every soldier who fought for the South in that bloody and monumental war, whose courage and duty reached the highest levels on both sides. Naming U.S. bases for those who fought for the South was seen as an act of respect and reconciliation towards those who were called to duty by the states. It was not then, and is not now, an affirmation of slavery. The slavery question has been settled by the war. Alabama's senator must be able to effectively and honorably explain these things in the Senate and not capitulate to the emotions of the radical left. Instead, Doug Jones has wholly capitulated to the politically correct radicals who are working day and night to erase American history right before our very eyes. Make no mistake, this is not a little matter. It reveals a profound deficit in his understanding of what it means to be Alabama's senator. Doug Jones's vote seeks to erase Alabama's and America's history and thousands of Alabamians for doing what they consider to be their duty at the time. Rest assured, I have never cowered from confronting the politically correct mob, and when I return to the Senate, I will boldly stand for Alabama and against the leftist radicals who are seeking to erase our nation's history. So from this, I know a lot of people are trying to paint him as being racist and saying that he supported then the slavery and everything. That's not at all what he's saying here. I mean, I think it's very clear that he's saying there were a lot of people who went to war in the Civil War that didn't necessarily know what they were fighting for. They thought it was their duty. And not everyone who was part of the Confederacy believed that it was a pro-slavery stance. I do think that we need to remember our history, and not just the good parts, but the bad parts too. But I'm just going to leave it there. I just wanted to present you with this, let you read it. You can make of it however you want on that. And then I wanted to show you this, that guess what? Coronavirus in the U.S. Dr. Anthony Fauci says second wave is not inevitable. Gee, now I wonder why they might be downplaying it. How could it be? Because of all the protesters? Because you see, it's been, 3 weeks now? That means that if people start seeing a real big surge, guess how they got it? It was not through opening up the states. It was through the protests. So I tend to think that we're going to see a downplaying of that, of the virus and everything. And it's weird, Fauci just, he goes back and forth, whatever's going to get him in the news. And so who knows? He's hedging his bets. I mean, okay, so we may not see a second wave. So that way, if we see one, he's covered because he said, yes, we probably would. And then if we don't get one, he's covered because he said, oh, well, we may not. I mean, it's like saying, you know what? Today it may rain, but then again, it may not. You're never going to be wrong, right? So anyway, all right. And then I got to play this clip for you because this is just too good.
To the governor and the mayor of Seattle, who I think are holding their cuffs back, I would say gently, if you hate cops just because they're cops, then the next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead.
Okay, and then this guy, again, I hope I don't get it on that part of the music, but you never know with music on these things if you're going to get, and it doesn't take very much, just a very little bit. But yeah, so this guy is doing some kind of dance or something. I'm not sure what he's doing, and it appears to be in a big mud pit, which I don't understand why in the middle of this there would be a large mud pit. And then I don't know where this guy is planning on washing his clothes or himself. So I'm really just not sure what this is, but you see all the different tents around it and everything. So I guess I can't say 100% that this is from there. I don't know what Seattle looks like, so I can't tell you if this is in Seattle. I have a friend who's from there and says that some of the clips she's been seeing are not from Seattle, so just be aware of that. So anyway, yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I have no idea what that guy is doing. Now, this is one last serious thing that I want to end with, because this was something that happened, and it's really sad. Here's the story. Paul and Lydia Marino were visiting their son's grave at Delaware Veterans Memorial Cemetery on the morning of May 8th, 2020. Unknown to them, walking these sacred grounds would be their last moments in this life. Paul and Lydia were fatally shot while visiting their son's grave. Paul was a veteran of the United States Army and a talented artist. Lydia was a homemaker and seamstress. Paul and Lydia are survived by 2 sons, 6 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Please help honor this veteran and help his family. With your generosity, we can provide help with final expenses and hopefully help send Paul and Lydia's great-grandchildren to college. Our other team member is Dave Gilberson, who also honorably served our nation for 14 years in the U.S. Air Force. Please help show this family the kindness of strangers as they navigate this trying time. We'd like to see this go up. I just think that these people have been through a lot, and I can't even imagine going to the cemetery to mourn your son, who obviously was a veteran, and then getting shot. I don't know. I don't know much more about the circumstances, but their goal is 10,000. They're at 6,000 right now. I'd really like to see this go up. So if you can at all, maybe spare something. If God lays it on your heart to support this. I don't know these people. I don't know anything about them except what, I've been reading about this particular shooting. So, check it out for yourself. I'll leave the link down below, and you can donate if possible. That would be really great. But again, not pushing you. If you don't have the money, please don't. But if you do have a little extra money, that would be a blessing to these people, it sounds like. I just can't even imagine that scenario. It just would be horrible to have your parents killed like that. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.